I did it. Chapter 6, I think. Maybe you. About yesterday, I think I did chapter 5 and 4 and 3. So I'm gonna just go on with it. This is my bookmark. Hope you guys like it. Ferno drawing. Old cover, right? Old cover. So chapter 6, I'm just gonna get on with it. Chapter 6, The Forest of Fear. Storm reared up, kicking out with his front hooves, and Tom threw himself into the brambles and bushes. But the wolf didn't attack them. It was growling at something else. Something that was crashing through the undergrowth towards them. Suddenly, 3 soldiers smashed their way into view. Their eyes flashed fiercely through the slits in their helmets. One held a crossbow while the other 2 waved long swords. The wolf advanced towards them, its growl growing angrier. "We'll teach that brat and this vermin to steal from our king," snarled the first soldier, aiming his crossbow at the wolf's head. "No!" Tom scrambled up from his hiding place just as the soldier fired up an arrow. Without thinking, Tom threw his sword. It spun through the air and sliced the short, heavy arrow in half before plunging into another tree trunk. "Another poacher! Get him!" One of the soldiers charged at Tom. Cool battle scene, homie. Autoblade's battle scenes are the best. Wait, no. This wolf versus this man. Man loses. "You suck!" And you're saying we're at the top of the food chain. Well, we can't even beat one little wolf. Well, a little baby wolf could beat him. With his sword raised, but the wolf threw itself at the man's legs. That was the picture. Knocking them from underneath him. Outraged, the 2 other soldiers charged at Tom. Tom grabbed Storm's reins and swung himself up onto the saddle. Leaning low, he rushed at the men with the wolf growling at his side, sending them running. Pulling Storm back round, he wrenched his sword from the tree trunk and rode towards the soldiers once again, scattering them into the woods. The wolf pulled ahead, darting through the trees onto a narrow path. Tom and Storm galloped after him. The wolf moved like the wind, only slowing once it had led Tom and Storm a safe distance from the soldiers. Tom eased Storm down to a gentle trot. Then the wolf stopped, and suddenly right in front of it, a figure dropped from the trees onto the path. It was a girl. She was tall and skinny, dressed in breeches and a dirty shirt. I mean, if you're living in the forest, how are you not dirty? Her hair was short and messy, and her face was red with scratches. What the hell do you get that much scratches? In one hand, she clutched a bow, and in the other, a quiver of arrows. As she crouched to greet her wolf, she looked at Tom, her gray eyes narrowing. "It's all right. I'm not trying to hurt him," he promised as Storm stopped. "My name's Tom," he said, dismounting. "We weren't chasing him. He was leading us away from the soldiers." The wolf patted over him and pushed his nose into Tom's hand. The girl relaxed and smiled at him warmly. "Well, Silver seems to like you, and he's a good judge of character. If he trusts you, Then so will I. How did you get him? Tom asked. Silver bounded back to the girl and sat down at her feet, looking adoringly up at her. I found him in the woods one day, the girl replied. Well, he found me. I got lost and twisted my ankle. Silver here came along and let me climb on his back. He carried me all the way home. He stepped forward, tugged Tom's hand, and shook it firmly. My name's Elenna. What are you doing in the middle of the forest? Elenna frowned. Tom asked. Elenna frowned. My uncle's a fisherman. Silver and I wanted to try. This is Elenna. Yeah. Wait. Elenna. I'll look on the river, but it's dried up and now we're far from home. With nothing to fish and nothing to eat, she said. So we came to the forest to hunt rabbits, but the soldiers thought we were trying to steal the king's deer. They chased after us and we got separated. There was a sudden crash and more shouting behind them. Quick! Storm reared and Silver hackles rose. Quick, we'd better get out of here, said Tom. They're still coming after us. Putting his foot in the stirrup, he swung himself onto Storm's back. Seeing Elenna hesitate, he grabbed her hand and helped her scramble onto the stallion behind him. Storm leapt forward into a gallop. They raced through the forest. Elenna clinging to Tom and Silver darting alongside them. To his relief, the soldiers were no match for Storm's swift hooves. Soon their shouts died away in the distance. Tom drew Storm back to a walk. I think we're safe, he said. As they reached a small clearing, Elenna slid down from Storm's back and looked up at Tom. What's going on, she asked. You seem like you're on some kind of a mission. You're too young to be a knight. Tom hesitated, but something told him he could rely on this girl, and the girl had told him to trust his feelings. He knew his task was to be kept secret, but perhaps he could tell Elenna about his quest. It's the beasts, he began. I've been chosen to release them from an evil wizard's spell. You? Said Elenna, but you're just a boy. She looked hard at Tom. He stared back undaunted. But I can see why they've chosen you, she added, then raised her eyebrows. I've always thought the beasts were more than just a story. They are, Tom told her. She looked at him wide-eyed with eager. So tell me then about them. They've been turned evil. Ferno the fire dragon is under a spell. Ferno? She guessed. He's burning all the crops and the river's dried up. If I can't stop him, Avantia will be plunged into famine. I knew nothing natural could make an entire river dry up overnight, Elenna muttered. She bit her lip, then nodded, as if she had reached a decision. I can't let you do this on your own. I'm coming with you. Tom grinned. He'd be glad to have a friend by his side as he faced the fire dragon. But then he remembered what happened to Caldor. You can't, he said. It's far too dangerous. Not as dangerous as you doing it all by yourself, Elenna shot back. She took a step closer. You saved us from the soldiers. We owe you. Besides, she hesitated. There's something special about you. I like to help. I can help. I know my way around this part of the kingdom. Let me, please. Tom looked into Elenna's eyes. He knew she meant every word. What about your family? He asked. Elenna shrugged. My parents died in a fire years ago. Why would he shrug to them? Why are you doing this? My uncle looks after me now. I live with my aunt and uncle too, Tom said. Elenna laughed. I don't know how alert your uncle is, but mine is easily distracted. He probably won't even notice I'm gone for a few days. It's a bad uncle. Tom felt a stab of homesickness as he thought about Elenna, his safe house, and his warm bed. Then he pushed the thought out of his mind. He needed to stay strong for the quest. Well, said Elenna, can I come? Yes, Tom said. I'll be glad of the company. Elenna let out a whoop of delight. Silver jumped round her legs, barking excitedly. So where do we find this dragon? She asked as she calmed the wolf. Tom patted his pocket. I have a map to show me, he said quietly. The big question is, what do we do once we find them? Beat them up? That was it for chapter 6. I don't know, but chapter 7 might be exciting. Alright, that's it. Please subscribe and stay tuned for the next video and hit that notification bell and smash that like button. Otherwise, see you next time.